Minister, if you could start first of how you got to where you are and why you're choosing to serve Gibraltar in this way. I think it seems both of you could do anything, but it seems like being in your post is quite the unique situation. So if you can, just give us a bit of background to how you got to where you are and maybe what you would be doing otherwise.
Well, I was interested in politics since the age of 17 when I was in school, and I used to visit our House of Assembly, or our Parliament as it's called now. Like I say, since the age of 17, I've always had an interest, and I've always wanted to serve the community. I think that is what's always struck out for me, to watch politicians, trying to do their best for your community, and I think that's what attracted me to it, and that's something that I've always wanted to do. I joined the Liberal Party when I was 25 years old, and I stood for election actually in the year 2000 for the first time. I missed out on a seat in Parliament by 60 votes. From then on, I just carried on. I'm a businessman, so I carried on with my business, with my family business on the high street. But I've always been in the background, and I've been in the executive of the Liberal Party. The opportunity arose last year to put my name forward for selection as a candidate, and I did so, and my party won the elections, and here I am today. But like I say, for me, the most important thing was to make a change, to at least make that small change for Gibraltar, and to be able to help the community. I mean, I love Gibraltar, and that's what it boils down to at the end of the day.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilmember Melton, can you tell us your side of it?
Yeah, I mean, I always had an interest in politics since a very young age. I just never thought I would be the politician. But, locally in Raleigh, I think there was sort of an older way of thinking. And I started to feel that it was time for some new leadership to step forward. I also felt that the demographics of our governing body, the Raleigh City Council, didn't necessarily look like the demographics of the growing city. And so I just felt, if not me, then who? I felt kind of called to action. I also love the city, and I want to reach our full potential and to grow and develop. And I felt like it was time for some new ideas and new leadership to step forward. And I've always been the kind of person, you don't wait for someone else to fill the void. If you see a void and you feel like you can do it, then you try. And that's what I did. And here I am.
Minister, the way Raleigh City Council is set up is there are, I believe it's 5 districts. Is that right, Jonathan?
Yes.
And then there's 2 at-large seats. So Councilmember Melton is one that doesn't serve an individual district. He serves the whole of Raleigh. And so that's one of the reasons I think he's perfect for serving as liaison to Raleigh sister cities and collaborating with you, is that he just doesn't have a slice, but he has the whole pie of the city. And so he has a really good grasp and a great responsibility in addition to a full-time job to serving the city, serving on a few different boards of transportation. And I think, he's a big advocate for affordable housing in Raleigh as well, which we just passed a bond here in the last election. So I really want to say thank you to both. I think these common backgrounds, I think these common directions and common goals will serve both of our groups very, very well. And I think going forward, especially with the innovation and the needs of transportation for both our communities, I think Raleigh is one of the groups that is one of the upcoming locations for tourism, and we have a lot to learn from Gibraltar for that. And so I think that's kind of what's next in the works for both of our sides, is partnering with Visit Raleigh, Visit Gibraltar, and the tourism side there. Sorry, is there kind of hope on the horizon? Are there things that we're looking forward to as a city from your level that saying, okay, even as all this is happening, here's what we're looking forward to, and here's something positive developing?
Well, I think while we're in it, I think one thing we've learned is how to perfect our systems. I think that COVID especially raised our attention to some areas that we need to be paying more attention. And, we've talked about a housing crisis in Raleigh for a long time. It's just going to be worse now, and getting worse. And so putting our attention there, and also the way we meet with each other and interact and conduct business. There's no substitute for all being in the same room. I really miss being able to connect with people one-on-one. But there are some things we've learned about how we can be efficient remotely that I hope we continue to use as good practices moving forward. and expanding access to our community members. Not everyone can come down to City Hall for a meeting or a committee meeting. And so some of this remote technology that we're using, I hope we can continue some of that. But as far as looking forward, yeah, like I said, I think the city is positioned well to rebound. We're doing everything we can to support our small businesses and giving people space to safely, dine out and interact with each other. We've had a lot of major projects on the horizon. None of them have canceled. The hotel type projects have deferred towards the end of next year, early 2022. But the residential projects are continuing. And so people continue to want to move to Raleigh, invest in Raleigh, spend their time here. And that's a very good thing. So I feel very fortunate for that.
Thank you. Mr. Daryanani, I want to know on your side in Gibraltar, what's been the hopeful idea, concept, maybe even plans coming out of this for you at the moment?
I think what COVID has done is in so different and difficult circumstances, it's given us time to reflect, perhaps reflect on things that we perhaps haven't thought about in the past. We just go on day to day, and here we've had a time when we've been in lockdown. It's given us time to think of how we can change things and then how we can do things differently. One of the things that we saw when the first wave was sort of over, that Gibraltar was very quick to the mark. We managed to get out of things. Gibraltar became busy again. We had 3 or 4 months, as from sort of June, July, August, September, 4 busy months when people started traveling again. And Gibraltar, being nimble as it is and being able to deal with things quickly, we managed to attract people back to Gibraltar from the UK, from Spain. So we're quite positive that when this sort of pandemic comes to an end, or at least starts to subside to the levels that people can start moving around, I think Gibraltar will very quickly be able to adapt to the new sort of new normal, if you want to call it. But I think we should not call it new normal, but we should just call it a sort of a different situation.
One of the things.
Well, I mean, I think the goal for public transit is always to be frequent and reliable. And I think Raleigh has identified that we have significant gains we need to be making in the frequency and the reliability. And so there's a bus rapid transit project that's about to begin construction. There's going to be 4 lines, which will be fantastic. It looks a bit more like the light rail that folks are used to seeing in some other cities, with built out stations, off-board ticketing, level boarding, dedicated lanes for the buses, which are longer, sort of like hybrid looking buses. But also just our general transit system, we're working to increase frequency, building out more bus stops, sheltered bus stops. And then there's also a big push right now, study towards commuter rail. And so hopefully that will be off the ground relatively soon. Before I took office, Wake County voters approved the bond for the transit bond. And so the Wake County transit plan is being implemented now. And since Raleigh is part of Wake County, we benefit from it. And so I think the next 5 to 10 years, transit's going to look very different here. And I think that that's great. As someone who uses public transit often, I'm looking forward to it just as a resident, but as someone who's helping guide the future of the city, I think it's great for our residents and community members. And then there's a lot of, as you touched on, Cody, zoning and land use that accompanies it, because we want to make sure that what develops near the transit is dense and walkable and mixed use and also has an affordability component. So we're doing a lot of that work now.
Good, thank you. Minister, how would you see the future of transportation in Gibraltar? Are there big changes on the horizon? Are there changes that have been avoided perhaps because of the pandemic? But what would you see the future holding?
Our government is committed to a green Gibraltar. So we're looking at ways of introducing sort of green transportation. It's very difficult in Gibraltar. Our roads are not that, are not wide enough. So we're finding it difficult to accommodate certain ideas and certain plans that we have. We would like to introduce cycling lanes. We've identified certain roads, but it's something that we're finding, like I say, it's not easy, because we have two main roads in Gibraltar to get us around. So if we dedicate certain lanes to cycling, then what happens to the traffic? We're hoping to purchase electric buses, so that like we have the buses we have currently are run on diesel, and we really want to try and eliminate that. We want to have electric buses. We would like a fleet to be a complete fleet with electric buses. So that's what we're looking at the moment. We're looking at, like I say, cycling. We would like to create, Gibraltar's it's a small place, so people can really walk from most in most areas, and we want to make it pedestrian friendly. So that is what we're looking at: pedestrian friendly, cycle friendly, and hopefully we'll be able to bring in these electric buses within the next 12 months, which will mean less pollution and frequency, as Jonathan mentioned, which is very important in public transportation. We want to make sure that we increase frequency, because if there's no frequency, then people will still consider taking their cars, and we would like ideally for people to use their cars less in Gibraltar.
Gibraltar seems perfect for that. I think that's where you're almost returning to the root of how the city was designed. If it's pedestrian centric, even with public transit being the focus of it, it almost seems like you're returning to the original intent of the city.